Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 273. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by
Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. For more information, go to axontire.com.
Axon Tire would like to give the loyal listeners of the Moving Iron Podcast, not you guys that are just chiming in for the first time, but the loyal listeners.
Yes.
I'm just kidding. You guys chime in for
not the newbies. Time. Get in line.
You newbies can get in on this too. I'm just joshing you. Go to axontiretips.com, axontiretips.com. And there's a lot of good information in there about different studies they've done about tracks and tires and compaction and all these different things that you see. A lot of great articles there for you to read. But at the bottom, there's a form. Fill out that form, and they'll send you not one, Aaron, but two Axon Tire resource mouse pads. So check that out.
Right on.
If you're interested in doing something like that, fill out that form, go to axontiretips.com, and they will be sure to send that out to you.
Has the tire conversions on it, correct?
Well, as far as I understand, yes, that is what I understand to be true. I think that most of the time you'll be able to use that resource pad for a number of things.
Maybe all encompassing.
Ballistics, if you're out shooting your guns, whatever you're doing.
Whatever.
It's a resource.
It's lots of resources.
All the resources on the planet come from that mouse pad right there.
Absolutely.
Valley Transportation has been hauling ag and construction equipment across the country for the past 33 years. Call Parker at 800-657-4910 for all your trucking needs. At Valley Transportation, our goal is to help you reach yours.
No matter how you buy ag equipment from a dealer, auction, or private party, AgDirect can finance it. You can even apply online at agdirect.com. Learn more about your financing options at agdirect.com.
All right. And lastly, this edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Tractor Zoom. With access to over $20 billion worth of heavy machinery sales data, Tractor Zoom's Iron Comps is the industry's trusted solution for transparent heavy equipment values and auctionable pricing insights.
And even the values that aren't transparent.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they're written in black.
They might be.
Can't see through it.
Or magic pencil.
Yeah. Sharpie,
something along those lines. You could have any number of things pop up, and you're going to find that. But they're going to have the most transparent stuff that you can find.
Fantastic.
No joke in Hoboken. Right on. Okay.
New Jersey.
Yeah, that's right.
Slippery when wet.
You know, we haven't done this for a while. Yeah, that's right. We haven't done this for a while here.
Hey, what's rule number one? Party? No, not party. No, it's not party.
And now everybody that was so thrilled that it was gone they hung up.
Friday night shenanigans, folks.
Hung up. I just said hung up. That's not right. What do you call that?
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be log out.
Close the window.
Maybe. I don't know.
Swiped us up.
Yeah. It could be any number of things out there at all. So what's up, fellas?
That's a crew.
That's a motley crew for sure.
That is a motley crew. Go Cardinals.
Friday night shenanigans. Just walked in the door. That's for sure. That is for sure. All right. So I'm out here at Aaron Fennell's, and we are going to discuss a myriad of topics. One of such being sprayers, and then typical Moving Iron Podcast fashion, I'm sure it'll spiral into something that has nothing to do with sprayers. So
that is the direction.
That is the
direction.
How
so sprayers are machinery. They're typically high clearance, and they have a liquid system.
They got tall tires and whatnot.
There you go.
How you been?
Good.
How's business?
You
seen any kind of pickup at all? Are you seeing more equipment pop on the market than we've seen maybe 2 months ago?
No, not at all.
Because I was having this conversation with Brad Graff from Valley when we did that podcast with him last time I recorded him, and he made the statement that finding used trucks right now is still not a walk in the park by any means, but it is easier to find trucks. You starting to see a little break in the action there a little bit?
No, not whatsoever.
Okay.
In fact, it's getting worse, if not better.
Okay.
But interestingly enough, across the country, on a dealer to dealer level, there is with everything being so short,
right,
there's a substantial amount of, hey, we have this gigantic multi-unit deal coming. Can you use some tractors?
Right.
Whereas 6 months ago, that would never happen, unless it is, for the like a State of the Union thing,
Right.
we're chopping 20. I know we could probably sell them, but we're chopping 20 off, off of this list of 50 right off the bat type of deal.
So what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, so guys are looking at you saying, hey, I don't think I have room for these, whatever.
Right. Yeah. There are offerings of high end 8Rs floating around out there from multi-unit deals.
Yeah. So okay. That's another good point then.
Yeah. Yet if you were to call a dealer, you're most likely as a dealer transfer, you're most likely
no.
Yeah. Very, very, very quickly. No.
Do you have any? No, we don't. We don't have any.
Yeah.
We don't have any. We don't have starters. We don't have any. We don't have any.
I have a used L100.
Yeah.
No bagger.
Yeah. They had when you look at okay, so when you look at the pricing that you're getting offered for those machines, have you seen that wholesale pricing go from retail plus 10 to just retail?
No.
It's still the same.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that kind of tells me that there is
it's a lot of fishing.
I mean, that's my next point. You feel like it's a lot of fishing.
It's a lot of fishing.
Desperation.
But in two of the guys that I've talked to working on those deals with, they are moving some. Yeah. I know one guy moved. I know the one guy said he moved some. Didn't say how many, but I know the other guy sold like 10 this week. So
right. Okay. All right. Makes sense. All right. So when you're looking at, okay, so again, there's a rabbit hole we went down.
But you also know, I mean, we've all seen every dealer of every color pay twice what they normally would for stuff. It's just maybe it's force of habit yet,
Right.
But when you're into that, oh my God, what are we going to do with all of these?
Yeah.
You become, that is just point blank, the haves and the have-nots, and the have-nots right now want them.
Right. No, that makes sense. So are you bullish still? Or are you bearish? Bullish
on all of it.
Huh?
On just all machinery or certain segments?
Just in general.
In general?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very bullish.
Are you? So you're
bullish. There you go.
Right on. So, but you're not at all bearish.
No, not yet. Not yet. But you know how I am. I'm very
Casey got a soundboard.
Casey figured out how to use the soundboard he's had for quite a while. Let's not forget that part. It really depends on. Now let me back that up. Back to what I was saying. I'm very emotionally charged, if you will. And when the sky is falling, it is falling now. It fell yesterday. We just didn't see it. So I'm always that kind of like, rainbows and unicorns, and then that was till 11:29, and at 11:30 it's the worst thing.
So have you ever seen the movie They Live?
Rowdy
Piper's in it. He's got the glasses, and he puts the glasses on. He can see the alien faces. It's a good show from the 80s. I remember watching it as a kid. So They Live. You walk around, everyone looks the same, but he gets these special sunglasses from the rebels,
right?
And he put these sunglasses on, and you can see all the alien faces out there that are controlling the world. And the signs say stuff like it's a Pepsi sign, but it's the glass on it says subliminally it says like consume and all this.
Right.
That's you. You're the guy with those glasses. You're the only one that can see all the stuff. Everybody else is like, what's this guy talking about? And then 6 months later, it kind of maybe starts to come true.
First of all, no, I'm not. Other than I'm eternally pessimistic on a few certain product lines, and that probably makes it look that way. But no, I have no special glasses. I just know that
you have rose-colored glasses sometimes.
Yeah, that I do.
Just like, it's a good song.
It is. It's John Conley.
It's also one of those times.
He's also a common man who drives a common van.
Right. Well,
his dog don't have a pedigree.
No, that's for sure.
But no, to wrap up this off in the weeds,
very
business is good if you got anything.
Right.
Still bullish on the market completely.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much every segment, most of the segments. Here's what I will say though. There is a portion of the market in general that has, I wouldn't say softened, it just stopped. It finally it caught its breath and enough is enough. And that's the 10-year-old stuff, the 10 to 20 has calmed back down to some sanity, It's not
10, what do you mean 10 to 20? What do you mean?
Year old stuff.
Oh, okay.
10
20-year-old stuff. Okay.
10-year-old to 20-year-old stuff.
Right.
Okay. That stuff is still pretty much, or it's stopped. It's calmed down. It's not rampant anymore like everything was for so long this year, well, for this whole year. But that stuff's really calmed down to the point where it's just kind of steady, if not maybe a dip here and there, type of deal. But you got to look at it more than just, I'd say you got to look at it in at least a 12-month, probably 18-month window to get any kind of hope of normal.
Right.
Because if you look at 6 months, that's just 6 months of batshit crazy.
Sure.
If you look at 12 months, you have maybe 3 months of normal and 9 months of batshit crazy.
Right.
So there's that.
Right. All right. Let's talk about sprayers for a minute.
Sprayers.
So when you're looking at sprayer market right now, this is typically depending on where you're at, but sprayer season, it's over. I mean, there's some like where we're at, there's some guys kind of wrapping up some late season stuff. Further north you go, obviously there's still got some stuff going, but if you're down, south, if you're in Texas, Oklahoma and Kansas, stuff like that, unless you have a super high clearance like Hagee or something like that,
right?
That's way high. You're done spraying for the most part. Typical time of the year where sprayers start to go through their off season downturn, and then that lull, and then they start kind of picking back up here towards the end of the year, going into basically October through February, right?
Right.
So as you're looking at sprayers right now, are you still getting calls for sprayer? You still listen to guys talk sprayer? We're still quoting sprayers, but sprayers that we're quoting, I'll be honest with you, there were guys that were on the fence about buying something anyway, and the sprayer that they've been waiting on is in now. I don't know that we've really had that. I think if there's one segment of the marketplace we haven't had that, like, we're like 4 trades deep sold in sprayers.
No. Couple things real quick.
Let rip.
How has the sprayer market been? Mm-hmm. Incessant, constant calls 24/7. I've never seen anything like it. It's worse than tractors were this spring.
Still?
Yes. This week.
Right.
This week.
So we're not in a typical lull then, like we would normally be.
We're not, because what was the second portion you said?
We're not sold 4 deep, 3 deep of trades coming in.
Because, case in point, these calls I'm getting are for March 23 sprayers.
Oh, okay.
They're advertised. They're just traded for on early order.
Right.
Just like all the other dealers in the country. And these guys are calling being, oh man, I need that sprayer. Great. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I want it now. I don't want it. If I'm going to buy it for next March, I can stop, back up, and look at everything again, and not just, so there is a lot of that. And I think it's the false hope is what's fueling that market so heavy.
There still might be one out there that we don't know yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm the insider that's got the special information.
Yeah. We actually happen to have 2 sprayers under 1,000 hours that are available now.
I know a guy. What are you looking for? Yeah, I know a guy. I got a guy. Yeah. So is it what the sprayers that you're looking at right now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are the guys calling and say, I want an 800-gallon tank? That's what I'm looking for. I'm on 1,000-gallon tank. I mean, what is it that they're looking? Is there a boom width that they're looking at more? Because it used to be when I first started this business, 90-foot booms were kind of the jam, and then it graduated to 100-foot booms, then out to 120, and then you got to 132, and so on and so forth. And then sometimes there for a while, like spacing didn't matter, but now it matters. And,
Right.
all those kind of things.
Boom is just 120. That's
the jam.
Yep. 99.9%.
Mhm.
Tank size.
That's got to be varied, man.
Yeah.
It's got to be based on.
It's really not a thing. Either a guy is calling on a 40-38 or he's calling on a 40-60.
Right.
I mean, he's not flipping back and forth between the two or anything like that.
Yeah.
And typically the smaller tank size guy, I mean, that's his jam. That's what he's been doing. So he doesn't want the great big machine.
Yeah. How many guys you're working with? This is another thing I think about a lot too when I'm thinking about this. So it's not like the liquid unit on an 1,800 gallon tank has been around for 30 years on a sprayer, but it's on a floater.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
it's like it's not anything new to have that out there, but
and it said Loral.
Yeah, it did. It said Loral on it, and it was like a 1994 Chevy, right?
or in lots of internationals.
Lots of internationals in the mix, and then smallest tackle I've ever seen in my life. They have so when you're looking at that big 1,800 gallon, 1,600 gallon, 1,000 gallon, 1,200 gallon tank stuff, I mean, obviously you get some of these high clearance, like these high clearance Kagies and those kind of things.
Yep.
1,800 gallon tanks, you can get those kind of things. But how many guys have you had conversations with that had the Ag Chem floater chassis, or the Terragator floater chassis, or the Deere floater chassis, or the Case floater chassis, where they're putting a liquid eater on that? Have you had many conversations with folks like that? Because it just seems like that is a very niched marketplace.
The liquid floater truck, if you will, nowadays. Yeah. There's the amount of them that are still offered and exist is kind of surprising,
right?
Really. Yeah. But it's probably kind of an old habits die hard, and we got the parts, throw it together type of deal.
It's also too, when you think about it, that rig itself is a very niche thing.
Oh yeah.
Yep. If you're spraying liquid with a floater, you're not typically going down row crop or something like that.
Right.
You're in alfalfa, you're in, some kind of a grass,
top dressing wheat,
whatever it is that you're doing,
spraying pastures.
Yep. So that's the kind of stuff that
pre-emergence, post as long as it's not emerged.
Right.
Well, that wouldn't be post then, it'd still be pre.
That'd be pre.
Never mind
that. All right. So the 1,800 gallon tank, we're looking at that from a niche perspective,
right?
Spraying something like that. Obviously, you don't have a lot of people looking at that, especially out here. I mean, we have those pockets of irrigated alfalfa that would make sense to have something like that.
Right.
But those guys also have row crop that they're spraying to.
Well, yeah. And I mean, unless you're buying a guy like that, I could see buying one
That's
under 100, but they're not. Yeah.
That's a very co-op machine.
It's an ASP. Yeah. That's it.
Mm-hmm. All right. So when you're looking at how all these things come together, when you look at aluminum booms versus steel booms versus carbon fiber booms, all these different things that come into play, I don't know that there's a real clear path of victory there anymore.
Oh yeah, I think I think
the aluminum boom thing never took off. That's my point. Like, it's
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the whole point with the aluminum boom was you can take your 4730 and put 132 foot.
Right.
You know what I mean? It never went anywhere,
right?
Because it costs. You might as well it's cost as much as the machine's worth to do it, right?
Right.
So that never really took off. I mean, there's a few of those out there that kind of make some sense and those kind of things. But you're looking at the classic steel booms that you see from any
steel is still king. Definitely. I can see
carbon fiber. You have guys coming to you and saying, "Hey,
I had one guy very, very interested in a
carbon fiber."
Yeah. wanting carbon fiber boom. Big fan.
Like he called you and said, I'm looking for carbon fiber.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
Most guys just, in their mind, they're thinking of that something happens to that steel one, I can just fix it.
Right.
I
can weld it.
Right.
I can JB weld it.
Yep. And that's what fuels that mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So I think steel's definitely still king. I guess it's kind of a matter wait and see what happens with the fiber.
Yep. So okay, here's the other thing too. So I get carbon fiber where it's coming from because obviously it's a more dense, it's a stronger material that you can go out
lightweight,
lighter weight, those kind of things. I get all that, which I think it'll take off sooner than later. I mean, obviously when you start looking at, if you're going to start spraying 1,200, 1,600, 1,800 gallons of stuff, you might as well just see how much you can put out. Right. I mean, if you have that need for that amount of juice, I mean, I'm sure there's somebody out there that's got an 18.
If you got that much product, you must need to just
cover the acres. Right. Now, I'm sure there's some guy out there going like, you know what? I'll get a 1,600 gallon tank and I'll keep it on 90s and I just don't have to fill up that often.
Boy, that'd be a deal though, man.
I mean, but there's somebody, I mean, most people out there like, I want 1,600 gallons because I got to cover.
Right.
I got 1 billion acres to cover. Right?
Yeah.
Do
they make 200-foot booms?
Right. Exactly. Can you put gauge wheels out there on the end of that? So I mean,
but case in point, that's not a driving in between the trees of Ohio type of rig typically anyway. I mean, that's a wide open space deal.
Spaces, yeah. I mean, that's
and
big fields. I mean, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that when you get to that market of that machine, it's very, very hit or miss just because they are so big,
Right. Yeah. So the other thing that used to be a big, I mean, it's just like anything else, kind of goes in fades. Fads. You get these things that are, you got
fads fade.
They do that. Just about the time you geared up for the fad, it fades.
There you go.
But when you're looking at the scenarios that come with that, so if you say that, all right, cool, here's a jam. I'm a 30-inch guy, so I want 15-inch spacing.
Right.
I'm a 20-inch guy, I want 20-inch spacing. Back before, it was like, if it was 20-inch spacing now, I'll make it work, no big deal. But now you start looking at some of the stuff, and there's these guys now are like, it really matters to me what the spacing of my my sprayer is.
Well, yeah, because guys are doing so much more with drops now.
Exactly.
That's all that amounts to. Otherwise, it wouldn't matter at all. Guys used to like 20 more than 15 because there was less tips to buy.
Right.
And you got
a bigger area. I mean, most of the time you were spraying down this middle of the row. I mean, you were offset a little bit. I mean, you were kind of there, but you were still kind of doing enough to where you could get the whole area.
Right.
I mean, like you were getting a kind of a big, I don't know, broadcast is the right word, but something like that. So
pattern.
Yep. So you start looking at that. All right. So now let's jump over to the dry side and take a look at what's going on there. If you look at your spinner boxes, you start looking at your air booms and those kind of things. Depending on where you're at, dry fertilizer is a bigger deal than it is other places, right?
Right.
And it's all about your access to dry fertilizer.
Exactly.
Right? Now, most, but that's also there's a whole
price,
other price and other things that go on that. But there's also other dry, pesticides, herbicides, those kind of things that come into play that get spread there as well. So if you're looking at like a high clearance spinner box type situation, if you're looking at the air boom now that you can start looking at, which again, it's not like it's been around like in the last 2 years, but the high clearance air boom system that's been around for a while. You start looking at those kind of things. What are you seeing on that front? You have people calling you saying, hey, I'm looking for that.
Well, we don't have them often. When we do, they're very, very hot.
Very hot.
Yep.
How many people do you have call around? How many people do you have that call you and say, hey, you know what? I'm looking at doing a dry liquid combo thing. How, do I have the right software? Do I have the right hookups on this machine that I can make this work?
I've never had that come up yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Yeah. But I could see there being a time, if you've got the right self-propelled,
Mhm.
and just like you used to do the box and the boom,
Right.
Box or wet system, do the air boom, wet boom,
Mhm. Yeah. Do you feel like
here is a $1.75 million sprayer?
you ever this is something I've thought about a lot on the sprayer side when this conversation comes up is at what point does a spinner box become totally irrelevant?
Never.
Why is that?
Never, because you got to realize there's so many different areas where they are using a pull type spinner box, variations. You could turn one of those into a high clearance litter spreader.
Sure.
Stuff like that.
So I'm talking from strictly a fertilizer,
just for dry
spread.
fertilizer.
Yeah.
Maybe at some point, probably. The thing you're going to run into is, we've seen like 4930s that got 5,000 hours of dry box. I would be nervous to drive it on a trailer.
Yeah, no, that's
like, damn, easy on the pivot tracks. It's gonna break in half.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So you're gonna get eventually you're gonna hit the life of everything.
Sure.
You start racking hours up. You got final drives and hydro pump and everything all involved in there. Something is going to put the kibosh on the old dry spinner rig before the spinner box itself.
And the reason I brought that up is because of how planters are playing into that now.
Right.
Not that you haven't always been able to put dry fertilizer in a planter, and not that you haven't been able to do that, but it's the
parts of the country they still do. They got the big square front hoppers, where we have liquid tanks. So.
It's the precision of planting the seed and putting the right amount of nutrients down with the seed when you lay it in there. That's where I think a spinner box eventually runs into the.
It's not as controllable, right?
Yeah, it's a broadcast spread. That's what I call it.
But you're gonna get into where that rig shines doing mop up duty.
Well, sure. You can. There's going to be like limited areas there where you're doing. If you're planting, if you're going to go out and broadcast something on alfalfa, you don't need to be precise.
Right.
You just go out and throw it out and be good. If you're broadcasting if you're broadcasting wheat, there's going to be some technology that comes along where you can meter that more efficiently,
right,
during the planting cycle of the phase and not the top dressing side of it.
Right.
There's going to be some opportunity that pops up there. That just kind of makes me wonder a little bit sometimes, like where is that? The old fashioned spinner box, when does it just become obsolete?
Right. But yeah. I don't see it, I guess.
Especially,
you got old pull type Dempsters out there way older than you and I are, and guys are still hooking up and spreading fertilizer. So
yeah.
I guess I don't think that high clearance dry box is gonna just fade into the sunset.
I don't think it's ever going to fade away totally, but what I do think it's going to happen is I feel like there's going to be more of a what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word I'm looking for here is that it's not going to be the go-to thing first.
Oh, no,
you know what I mean?
Not at all.
It's going to be like, all right, we're going to get this planted, and we've done it this way for 30 years, and we're going to go out and do it. There's going to be some more efficient way of doing it. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm getting at.
Right.
Whereas
everything's that way.
But I'm saying, like, from a dry fertilizer perspective, if you use an air boom, you can still use a Y drop scenario and just drop that dry fertilizer right on top of where you want it to go.
Right.
Way more precisely than just the old broadcast spinner that I use on my grass in the spring. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm getting at. So I think there might be an opportunity there. But to your point, man, I've seen some 5,000 hour, 6,000 hour, been on a box their whole life.
That's a rough customer.
And those are like, I'm like, I'm afraid to take it off the dock.
Is that a Heston?
Yeah.
Nope, just a lot of rust.
Man, God, some of those things come in. I'm like, what? Oh, wow. Look at that.
Yeah.
And you look at the frame underneath and you're like, we can't.
You're like, I don't think we should probably sandblast this. I think we're going to end up with very thin metal.
I don't know where we stop.
Right.
Start type of thing,
Yep.
So yeah, good stuff. All right, man. I feel like a good place to stop right there. Folks want to reach out to you, Aaron, get more information about what it is you have happening. What's the best way to do that?
Man, all over the place. Facebook and LinkedIn by my name, obviously, at Aaron Fintel on Twitter. Probably find me there more than anywhere. Email aaron.fintel@movingironllc.com. Call me, text me, 308-760-1193. And man, that ought to cover it.
You know what we need to do another of?
What's
A
that?
throwback iron.
We will.
We should do that someday where we got an opportunity to do that. I feel like I think that's one of those things it's a rarity. It's a rarefied air that we don't need to spoil. And we just need to bring that back every so often.
Let's hope it's rare that anybody's that big of a tractor geek.
Well, if you listen to the two that we've done, it's more of a reminiscence of the of the things that we did when we were young.
Days gone by.
Yeah. Which all kind of harken back to what the theme of the Moving Iron podcast is. So
harken back
on that. All right. I'm Casey Seymour. You can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. You can see me on LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast. Check out the video version of this podcast at the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel. Check that out. And you can go to MovingIronLLC.com for everything Moving Iron related. If you're listening to this and you're a dealer, and it is what is today? July 15th. July 15th, and you want to come to the Moving Iron Summit, check that out. Go to MovingIronLLC.com, upper right-hand corner, click on the Moving Iron Summit tab, click on that, and all the information is there for that. If you need more information about that, hit me up at Moving Iron LLC, or not Moving Iron, Moving Iron Podcast at MovingIronPodcast.com, and I will get back to you with all the information that you might need. We got some really great speakers coming up. Rich, if you listen to this podcast, Rich Posson is going to be there. He's going to be the kind of the keynote speaker, kicks things off. Sean Hackett, if you guys listen to the podcast, he's on there. The guys from Ag Director coming. There's three economists. The large ag side of that, the row crop side of that, the cattle side of that, and the specialty crop, cotton, and dairy. They're all going to do a roundtable discussion about what they see happen. So it doesn't matter where you're coming from, the United States or Canada. You got three guys that are going to tell you what they see happening from their perspective. What's going on out there. We got some great speakers lined up at other parts of that as well. So check that out. You need more information about that, man, hit me up, Moving Iron Podcast at MovingIronPodcast.com, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So with that, I forgot about Alex, man. Alex is over in Ukraine getting after it, man. I hit him up the other day. He was going back to Poland to get some stuff to run
sausage.
No, not sausage. He's gonna get some very key stuff to take back to people there in Ukraine. So if you want to help Alex out in the show notes, click the link there. He's got a GoFundMe page set up, or you can just go to GoFundMe and search Help Alex Transport Humanitarian Aid from Poland to Ukraine. So check that out, and we'll go from there. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Aaron Fennell. Let's move some iron, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron, time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here. Moving iron.